Elon Musk's 3 rules to learn anything.
I do think there's a good framework for thinking is physics, the sort of first principles reasoning. What I mean by that is boil things down to their fundamental truths and reason up from there, as opposed to reasoning by analogy. Through most of our life, we get through.
I mean, yeah, this is an interesting concept, and I think every engineer knows about it because they have to think from the bottom up, not from the top to bottom. And they don't go sideways, which will be analogies. And the thing is, what he is trying to say here is the analogies are the sideways, which means you compare one thing to another thing, and it's similar in some ways, but it's not the exact same thing. So that's analogies. Analogies are very used to understand the concepts, to get the idea. Okay, this means that. On an average, analogies are better to understand the concepts, but if you go in depth, you have to go first principles, which means you have to break down into simpler things, and then you understand, okay, what is it made of, dot 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 dot, and you understand and you build up from there on.
Life by reasoning by analogy, which essentially means kind of copying what other people do with slight variations. And you have to do that, otherwise it's mentally you wouldn't be able to get through the day. But when you want to do something new, you have to apply the physics approach.
Give me an example of that. Like, what's one thing that you've done that on that you feel has worked for you?
Sure. So somebody could say, in fact people do, that battery packs are really expensive and that's just the way they'll always be because that's the way they've been in the past.
See, this is where Elon applied the first principle thinking, and this made him a billionaire.
Well, no, that's pretty dumb. And you say, no, okay, well, what are the batteries made of? So first principles would be to say, okay, what are the material constituents of the batteries? What is the spot market value of the material constituents? So you can say, okay, it's got cobalt, nickel, aluminum, carbon, and some polymers for separation, and a steel can. So break that down on a material basis and say, okay, what if we bought that in the London Metal Exchange, what would each of those things cost? Like, oh, geez, it's like $80.
Exactly. That's the thing that Tesla did, and they became a $1 trillion company, one of the most valuable company in the world.
Per kilowatt hour. So clearly, you just need to think of clever ways to take those materials and combine them into the shape of a battery cell, and you can have batteries that are much cheaper than anyone realizes.
And the cost per pound or
Elon did the same thing with the SpaceX also.
kilogram to orbit had actually gone up over the years, not down. So after my second or third trip back from Russia, I was like, whoa, there's got to be a way to build rockets. There's got to be a way to solve this rocket problem. I started reading a lot of books on rockets and did a sort of a first principles analysis of a rocket, just broke down the materials that are in a rocket, what would it cost to buy those materials, what versus the price of the rocket, and there's a gigantic difference between the raw material cost of the rocket and the finished cost of the rocket. So there must be something wrong happening in going from the constituent atoms to the final shape. And I found that certainly to be true.
And then
Exactly, that's what he did. Like, he broke down all the costs that would made up to build the rocket, and then he built it by himself by building those individual pieces.
just in
And that's the first principle thinking.
general, critical thinking is good. Examining whether you have the correct axioms, are the most applicable axioms, does the logic necessarily connect, and then what are the range of probable outcomes? Outcomes are usually not deterministic; they're a range, and so you want to figure out what those probabilities are, and make sure, ideally, that you're the house. It's fine to take.
So basically what he's trying to see here is the probabilistic range means, okay, let's say you have a probability of 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, that's a range, right? If you fall within that range, okay, that's good. But if you don't fall, okay, let's figure out how to fall into that range. And it's similar to life. Nothing is guaranteed to you like 100% you'll get this 100% of the time, but it's all a probability. You just stack the odds to fall into that range, and that's all what he did.
It's fine to gamble, so long as you're the house.
I would like to be the house.